Hey everybody, it's Alex, the founder and CEO at Motoroso, and in this video we're going to be talking about all the opportunities for improving the braking performance on the first generation FRS GT86 BRZ. The brakes that came on this car are not that bad. They're actually pretty decent for an entry-level sports car. But for anybody who's making more power or has invested in improving the handling through suspension mods, you're going quicker, you're going to need better braking performance because pretty okay is not okay when you need it. In the US market, this car came with three potential braking packages. The base model had a 2-piston front caliper and a single-piston rear caliper and around 290mm rotors. If you were lucky enough to get the performance pack, this bumps you up to a braking kit that's actually made by Brembo, the kings of braking, but it is still an OEM braking system. This bumped you up to a 4-piston front caliper and a 2-piston rear caliper, and that's going to be a significant upgrade, probably going to stand up to some decent track use, and you're going to want to at least look at pads in that situation. Now, if you're really looking to hit the track hard, you may still want to consider replacing those brakes. Now, if you went all the way to the TRD edition of this car, of which there are not many on the road, this came with Brembo 6-piston fronts and 4-piston rears and a 350mm rotor. So this was a significant braking performance enhancement, and honestly, not much in the aftermarket's gonna beat that TRD edition. And we're gonna list these modifications in the order of the easiest to install, but that also happens to line up with the best bang for the buck, meaning the best performance by spending the least amount of money. And let's start with brake pads. If you're looking to get a little bit more performance on the street, but you're not planning on taking the car to the racetrack, for $120 you can get yourself a set of the R1 Concept Sport Performance Pad. Now this is going to give you better initial bite. It's going to handle a little bit more aggressive street driving. But if you're going to be taking it to the track, consider getting a set of StopTech Sport Pads. These are designed to stand up to those higher heat conditions that you get from a slow track day, and they're only going to set you back around $150, and both of those options are 100% asbestos free if you're not a fan of cancer. A little further up the food chain, you're going to find the very popular Hawk HPS, and that stands for High Performance Street. But they've designed this pad to stand up to anything you can throw it on the street, but also be able to take the punishment of regular, frequent track days, even in those long sessions. The thing's going to offer good initial bite. It's not going to be loud on the street, but it's still going to stand up to the punishment that you're going to give it on the racetrack without too much fade. These pads are going to run you about $240 front and rear. The Hawk pads are also one of the more environmentally friendly options, being 100% free of asbestos, lead, and chromium. And hey, why breathe it if we don't have to? Now the Project Move B-Force are $250 a set, and they're a popular option because they're easy on the rotors while offering low noise and low dust, but still having good initial bite and low fade at the racetrack. And the nice thing about just upgrading your brake pads is it's inexpensive, but they're also super easy to install, not messy. It'll take you no time at all. If you're ready for that next level of braking performance, a little bit more budget will get you into a kit that has rotors and pads. Now these are made to work together, so they're gonna be a better braking performance overall. Now the rotors are gonna perform better because they're made from a higher grade of iron than you'll find in your OEM rotors, and they'll stand up to better heat and resist warping. You might also find features like slots, which will help keep the face of the pad clean and mated nicely to the surface of the rotor, or cross-drilled, and that helps release gases coming off of the pad and keep the rotor cool. And of course you can find slotted and drilled, and that just looks really cool too. R1 Concepts once again comes to market with a great value. They have 3 different Geomet kits that come with their sport performance pads. You can get them with drilled rotors, slotted rotors, or drilled and slotted rotors for only $320. That is not much more than some brake pads in the industry, and you get rotors as well. This is a great option for performance street driving. And in the same category, for around $380, you can get a set of cross-drilled and slotted rotors and pads from PowerStop, but this is not a massive bump in performance. Another popular option is the Hawk Talon kit, which comes with their PC pads, and that stands for Performance Ceramic, not political correctness, thankfully. And these are going to set you back around $680, and those ceramic pads are going to stand up to that extra punishment at the racetrack. And our #1 recommendation in this category, but also really across the whole video, is for just under $600, you can get the StopTech rotor and pad kit full front and rear set. And that's going to come with drilled, slotted, or cross-drilled and slotted rotors. You got 3 choices there, and those rotors are made from some of the best iron you can get. And it's got their sport performance pads, which are going to stand up to street driving without a ton of noise, but they're also going to stand up to aggressive track driving without that fade that you don't want. This is a really good setup, and this is probably what most people are going to end up choosing. We'll put a link to that in the description. Now, the nicest thing about installing pads and rotors is because it's clean, it's easy, and you can do it with a set of basic tools in your driveway. But for 25 bucks a bottle, you can get some better ATE or Motul .4 brake fluid, and that's going to increase the braking performance because the fluid's going to have a higher boiling point and it can stand up to the temperatures at the racetrack. It is a little bit more messy to install, but if you get a vacuum tool from Harbor Freight or something like that and have a buddy help you, you could potentially swap your brake fluid out without spilling a drop. But you are going to spill a drop when you go to stainless steel braided lines because you can't swap them out without losing brake fluid. But these are going to give you a better brake pedal feel because that stainless steel braided line is not going to flex when you hit that pedal, and it's just going to make the brakes feel overall much tighter, and they're only going to be about 120 bucks. Now, if you're looking for the absolute pinnacle of braking performance on your Toyo Buru, the way to do that is going to be to get a big brake kit. And of course, we've talked about rotors and pads, but the big difference of what's going to come out of a big brake kit is replacing the caliper. This is the most complex and expensive part of any braking system. And if you compare the difference between any of these aftermarket calipers that we're talking about compared to your OEM caliper, you would be shocked the difference. I mean, this is a massive, massive caliper by comparison. And that means that it moves more fluid volume and it has multiple pistons inside that can move a much bigger pad. That caliper can also be designed to handle a larger annulus rotor. An annulus is the height of the rotor braking surface. All these things combined can lead to having a braking surface area, that means pad to rotor, that can be 3 times larger than stock. BBKs also offer a lot of customizability depending on what you're really trying to achieve. And we're always here to help you with those decisions if you're going to be going towards one of these BBKs. But you're going to be able to change things like the rotor size or the patterns of the rotor, cross-drilled, cross-drilled, and slotted. How big does the rotor need to be? Do you need a smaller rotor like 328 millimeter, or do you want to go with a big boy like 355? Are you going to change the calipers in the front to a 6-piston and the rear 4? Or are you going to go 4-piston front, 2-piston rear? All of these are options and decisions you're going to be able to make with most of these BBKs. And one of the considerations is whether or not that's going to fit under your wheels. Now, I imagine if you're looking at investing in a BBK, you are probably not running stock wheels, but you're definitely going to need aftermarket wheels to get around the size of some of these caliper and rotor combinations because they are definitely going to be way bigger than stock. You may have to run 18-inch or 19-inch wheels to get away with like a 6-piston combination. StopTech offers the best value BBK available for your platform, and that's going to come with a handful of options. They make a 4-piston caliper, a 2-piston caliper. We usually recommend 4-piston in the front and 2-piston in the rear. You're going to have 3 different rotor sizes to choose from, 328, 345, and 355, and it comes in either drilled or slotted, and there's 5 color options to choose from, and you can pretty much configure this whole thing front and rear for under $5,000. And if you're just going to do the front, it's going to set you back around $2,800 depending on the size of the rotor. Now let's talk about what you can get from R1 Concepts. They have a division that makes custom big brake kits, and they're only going to set you back between $5,000 and $6,000 for a full kit, front and rear. But what you get is an incredible amount of value because you can customize almost everything about these kits. It's actually crazy. You can choose from 32 different colors of caliper paint or anodizing, and you can even have the top hat on your 2-piece rotor anodized a color to match, and they've got 18 anodized colors to choose from there. It comes with stainless steel braided lines, performance pads, and you can choose from drilled, slotted, or cross-drilled and slotted on the rotors, plus all the different size options. There's almost too much to go through here because they even offer their calipers in 4, 6, and 8 pistons, and we can customize everything about a R1 Concepts big brake kit. There pretty much is not an off-the-shelf offering. So if you want to go down this road, have something totally custom, hit us up at Motoroso.com and we'll help plan it out with you. And if you want to shoot all the way to the top of the food chain, no name is more synonymous with braking performance than Brembo, of course. And they make a couple different BBKs for this platform. Now you're only going to get to choose from 3 colors, and you're going to have to choose between drilled and slotted rotors, but you can get a 6-piston front, 4-piston rear Brembo braking system that will offer the pinnacle of performance for about $7,000. And for a little over $5,000, you can go for their 4-piston front, 2-piston rear setup that's going to perform significantly better than the performance pack option, because that is made by the OE division of Brembo, which is completely different because what we're talking about is the aftermarket motorsports division. They're not the same thing. Now, if you want to learn how to make a little bit more power and sound out of your BRZ FRS GT86, we made a video about all the exhaust options, and you can check that out right over here. If you're looking for braking performance, we put links to everything in the description, and you can always reach us at Motoroso.com. Thanks for watching.